Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of Epic Fantasy Romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Hits the spot. Today is Tuesday, August 30th, almost the last day of August. For all intents and purposes, here on First Cup of Coffee, it is the last day of August since I won't be podcasting tomorrow. So you'll have to celebrate the end of August without me. Speaking of August, I think it's funny. This is like a mini rant. Uh, it's a little bit cool and cloudy here in Santa Fe this morning. Not as cool as it was yesterday morning, but the clouds are coming in and we may get a little rain, they say, by 9. Which means that the mosquitoes are gathering. I do have my mosquito candle going here, but yes, here in the secret garden, it's um, lush, but also lush with mosquitoes. Um, if you're on video, you saw that I just paused because I had something in my eye and I dealt with it. And then, right as I was unpausing, I got something in my other eye, so I had to pause again. That's why I left. Anyway, August. Many of you know, or you should know by now if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time or know me at all, is that I am a total Swiftie. I love Taylor Swift and have for quite some time now. And to my delight, I've turned on a number of my friends to Taylor Swift, which is not usually me, but I feel like there are a whole lot of people out there, including like my assistant, who sort of buy the um, some of the cultural dismissiveness of Taylor Swift, and so they'd never really given her music a chance. And once I've turned them on to how amazing she is, then they discovered the genius that is Taylor Swift. So, Taylor, if you ever listen to this podcast, because I do feel like we could be besties, I want you to know that I've gained you like at least, I don't know, 5 fans. And I feel like this is worth something. A drop in the bucket to someone with her massive audience. But still, so anyway, Instagram knows that I'm a Swiftie. They show me Taylor Swift clips, which reels, which makes me happy. I like watching those. And but they also send me suggestions, which I don't like so much, where they say umpty million people have made reels with Taylor Swift's song August, and do you want to do that too? And let me be clear, I love the song August. I think it's beautiful. It is August, it's the end of August. I mean, like all of her music, it's got beautiful refrains and wonderful turns of phrase. August sipped away like a bottle of wine. It's great, right? And but no, first of all, I don't really want to make a reel, which I know I should, but I don't want to. And if I were going to, I probably would not use the song August. And then I saw that one of my empty friends, uh, a romance novelist, did a reel. It came through my feed. She and I follow her, and she did a reel of like her upcoming romance novel using the chorus to August. So people, I know I'm a purist about these things. I may be whatever, I might be an extremist about these things. I'm perfectly willing to cop to that. But August is not a love song. It not in the typical sense. Um, August is told from the point of view, and you know this if you listen to the fucking lyrics. Sorry, I feel strongly. It's told from the point of view of a woman who seduces a guy knowing full well that he has a girlfriend. And the reason that she has the line on there saying, because you were never mine, is because he wasn't hers. He belonged to someone else and he was cheating on his girlfriend with her. And I'm sorry, people, this isn't the romantic song that you think that it is. Just putting it out there. uh, I had an argument with another friend of mine who I did turn on to Taylor Swift and has become a fan, but she doesn't like the song "Look What You Made Me Do." And I said, "Well, how can you not like this song?" And she said, "Well, that's the kind of thing that abusers say." And this is somebody that I love very much, and I normally love that she has these strong feelings about abuse and fairness and so forth. And she said, "But that's what abusers say. They say, look what you made me do. You made me do this. It's not me, it's you." And I'm like, "Yeah, but that's not what the song's about." And I said, "If you listen to the lyrics, then you would." And she's like, "Well, I didn't listen to all the lyrics." I'm like, okay. And I was talking with my assistant, who has become a Taylor Swift fan because of me. And now part of her assisting duties have turned out to be following the Taylor Swift Reddit. And then she feeds me information and gossip, which I figure is absolutely part of what I pay her to do. And I say that in all sincerity. Because she was telling me interesting information yesterday because we were talking about the album Reputation, and as one does. And I was saying that I felt like I needed to make one of those unpopular opinion TikTok reels, uh, not only ranting about the misuse of August, but talking about how, apparently Reputation is one of her least popular albums, which I didn't know until recently. And maybe it's not true, but I saw something saying that. And I love Reputation. I think it's great. But it is an angry album. And Look What You Make Me Do is on there. And, but that album's all about, I tried to be a nice person and you all fucked with me. And now you've awakened the dragon and I am not going to take it. And, you know, that's probably in keeping with my personality, but I'm on board with that sentiment. All about being a nice, generous, giving, loving person until somebody stabs you in the back, and then it's game on. So something else I wanted to talk about, remaining notes from Bhubanicon over the weekend. Uh, I think this is a fairly short topic, so I'll handle it first. Is that we were doing a panel on world building, and several of the panelists had been talking about the idea that in some stories with well done world building, that the world actually becomes like a character in the story. And that there are even stories like John Varley, where literally it's the world is an actual sentient character. And but that also the world serves as a character in other ways in other stories. And at the end during the Q&A, this one guy put up his hand and I was the moderator. So I called on him and he said, well, he said, if thinking about the world as a character, since characters have to have agency, wouldn't the world have to have agency in order to be a character? And I it was an interesting question because several of the panelists immediately disagreed with his premise that a character has to have agency. And then another disagreed that the world doesn't have agency because she said, I've been in the mountains that were actually trying to kill me, literally trying to kill me. Which someone else, when ended up having this conversation several times over the weekend, asking different writers what they thought. And someone who tends not to be a very fanciful person said, worlds absolutely have agency. They have, you know, weather patterns and they have all sorts of things that they do. Um, and that's like, if you, not even if you buy into like the Gaia hypothesis, right? Which is that the Gaia hypothesis is that our world, the Earth, is in a way a sentient being that is always trying to bring itself back into balance, that it has a place it wants to be, and that if we push it too far environmentally, that it will wipe out the humans so that it can get back to where it needs to be. I haven't heard much about Guy hypothesis in a long time. I feel like we need to bring that back with all of this. The climate dooming, I don't think that necessarily comes in as much. So anyway, uh, the idea of character agency, and for those of you who I don't, I'll define it. Uh, it's basically the idea that it's taught to writers a whole lot. Um, Editors bring it up often in order to keep your characters from being flat or being props, where they simply exist for other characters or the world to act upon them. It is not my favorite term. I don't really like talking about character agency, in part because my very first book, Rogue Spawn, recently re-released, um, my when I was shopping it, and even up through the developmental edits with the editor from the press that bought it, uh, kept giving me grief about how my heroine didn't have enough agency. And and it was frustrating to me because my heroine was a scientist who ends up trapped in fairy, and she is able to do magic in that everything she thinks manifests, and she has to learn to control her magic. But she's very much a fish out of water, and she's amid the fae who um, do everything by bargaining, and she doesn't know the rules of the game, and she gets herself into several very bad bargains very quickly. Um, and so this whole thing where my editor kept saying, oh well, she doesn't have enough agency, she needs to have more agency, like, which to many means affecting her own fate, making choices of her own. And it's like, it was really hard in that situation for someone to have agency, and it got to be very annoying to talk about. So anyway, discuss among yourselves. It's an interesting thought. um, I don't think a character needs to have agency. I think that's one way of talking about characterization. Oh, the sun is breaking through. Oh, oh, hello, Thrasher. Thrashers are still busily feeding babies. So I moved a little bit so the sun wouldn't be in my eyes. Um, anyway, interesting thoughts. And I said that we could have had a whole panel on whether or not characters need to have agency. I think it's just one way of talking about characterization, and really not the best way to talk about characterization. Um, Boy, that sun's really coming through. There, I've scooted more fully. So, yeah, it would be interesting to do a full panel on discussing whether or not characters need to have agency. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is I took a I took I attended a class that Connie Willis taught, called "The Devil in the Details," and I really admire Connie Willis. She's a SIFWA Grandmaster. She's been around for a long time, celebrated author, uh, and also I lost track of what I was going to say. Um, Connie Willis. So, Connie is really a wonderful person. So, I find her utterly delightful. She's incredibly supportive of younger writers. She's been personally great to me. Um, love, love, love her. And I love her stories too, love her books. So, she gives this very interesting class. And I had attended something of it before at the Williamson Lectureship, but uh, it was less detailed, than what she talked about at Bubonicon, which was just her for an hour. And I always get something out of hearing her talk. So she was talking about the importance of details in the story, obviously, and giving lots of great examples of um, people again. So here we are looping back, people paying attention to small things. And she was talking about how readers who are not close readers tend to get very foiled by unreliable narrators because they believe everything the narrator tells them. And she was using the example of Nabokov's Lolita because she likes to ask people what happened to Lolita's mother. And she said she finds that that's kind of a litmus test of who they are as a reader. And as she said that, I was thinking, well, obviously he murdered the mother so that he could get to Lolita. And Connie was saying, well, that a lot of people say, oh, but she died in an accident. And she said, well, how do you know that? And they said, well, it says in the book. And it's like, no, the narrator tells you that. The narrator who probably murdered the mother so that he could molest this young girl uh, told you that. And she was talking about how there's uh, just this one bit near the end where he mentions how Lolita cries every night, cries and cries. And by this, you know that everything he's done to represent Lolita as being this temptress who seduced him, it's all a lie. It's all part of his elaborate lie. So this is like on a different scale perhaps, but like people not listening to the lyrics of August and not knowing that this is not a romantic song. Well, not in the way that they think it is, I think. So, but I did take some exception in that because Connie is coming at this from a very particular viewpoint, right? And she was holding up, and she was talking about Shakespeare and Nabokov, obviously, and looking at things from that lens, which I think is fine. But she was using, for as a bad example, um, a metaphor that Nora Roberts used, and she mentioned with a shudder that she just does not like Nora Roberts' writing. And I thought, well, okay, which is fair. We're all allowed to like or dislike, and the metaphor she'd picked out, which was not one that I remembered. I often very much enjoy Nora Roberts' metaphors, um, and this one was clumsy. But you know, Nora Roberts is enormously successful, and it's something that I contemplate often. That if you listen to this podcast, is like, what are we trying to do? What are we trying to accomplish? And when I do author coaching, I that's one of the things that I ask aspiring authors to think about when they want to, how do I plan my career? I ask them to figure out, well, what do you want from your writing career? Because if you want to, we all want everything, right? We all want to be the best-selling author, making lots of money, with a passionate fandom, admired by our peers, given awards, and remembered for all time. Uh, those are generally the things, and we want to love our work and tell the stories that we love to write, and be happy every moment, and have bonbons and cabana boys to wait on us. I think that covers it. So the thing is not many authors get to have all of those things. Like the authors who are well remembered for being brilliant, like Jane Austen's one of the my favorite examples of that. Jane Austen was not wealthy in her lifetime. She wasn't even all that recognized in her lifetime. Her recognition as being an author, being a genius, came long after her death. So, you know, maybe it's still worth it, but I think for many of us, being able to make a living at it, being able to write what we want to write, and being able to make money is important too. So um, I would take Nora Roberts' career in a heartbeat, right? So food for thought. And on that note, I am headed to Worldcon tomorrow. I will be in Chicago. If you're going to be in the neighborhood, say hello. I probably will not be podcasting for the rest of the week, but I will on Monday, which is Labor Day in the United States. But um, I should be here. So, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. Um, hope those details are ones that are important to you. And you all take care. Bye bye.